All right, welcome back. Screen Notes, episode 2. Thank you for sticking around. As you can see, our little set has had a bit of a makeover. We've got professional light in the back for that close-up shot. We've got lava lamp in the back in full flow. And here we are. So today's review, I'm looking at a series I've been watching all week. It's called Maid, available on Netflix now. And guys, this is a good one. I really enjoyed this one, but the review at the end. So a quick overview of what this series was. It's about a single mother called Alex, played by Margret Qualley. She's a single mother who turns to house cleaning to escape an abusive relationship from her boyfriend, played by Nick Robinson, also a good actor and been in quite a few things. And basically, she has to overcome homelessness as she escapes this relationship with her young daughter, Maddie. She has to start cleaning houses and figuring life out as a single mother, trying to do the best for her daughter. So jumping straight in with screen note number 1. So difficult to watch, tough series to watch because it's sad. You see this girl who's escaped an abusive relationship with her 3-year-old daughter, and you can't help but feel sad for her because she begins to realize that her family can't help for a myriad of reasons. Her friends are friends with the boyfriend who's the abuser, and she has no money, no job, and nowhere to go really. To keep her daughter safe. So you begin to realize that everything is against her. You see the worst of society, you see the worst of family, and it can be really tough, even in the moments where she begins to see a glimmer of hope and things are looking up for her. Something quickly changes and suddenly she's on the back foot again. So it's tough to watch, but at the same time, you can't take your eyes away. Point number 2. Familiar story told from a different angle. So admittedly, when I first started watching this, I kind of thought it was going to be the typical story that we've seen before. An abusive boyfriend who's probably got a drinking problem. She flees with a daughter, and then the whole series is a custody battle in courts. Her always losing to the father, you thinking she'd never have a chance, and a final dramatic scene in court at the end, she wins custody of her child, and they live happily ever after. But I stood corrected. Like, this was completely different to that. It actually showed how things can be so different in that situation. In this case, it wasn't a necessarily physically abusive relationship. It was more of an emotionally abusive relationship. But as you can see here, you can see how complicated it is to prove that someone is emotionally abusing you. But when we see it from her character, you can see that she clearly is, and she is in danger. He may just be emotionally abusing her now, but eventually she might begin to hit her. And that's what she begins to see in Nick Robinson's character, Sean, and why she has to flee. What it shows really well is also show how the system is really rigged against these victims who aren't able to prove that they're being domestically abused. Even when they do leave the boyfriend, partner, whatever, it sometimes takes around 7 tries for them to get past them, 7 times getting back with them and leaving them to finally leave them. And this obviously is based on a memoir, so a true story. And you can just imagine how complicated it is. So it was really enjoyable seeing a familiar story told from a completely different angle. Point number 3. So there's a freaking cute baby in this. Maddie, I don't know what the name is. She must be about 3 or 4 years old. If you think about what you were doing at the age of 3, it certainly wasn't acting alongside a whole group of people. And she was great. I think the relationship between Alex and her daughter is at the center of the whole series. She says several times that she lives for her daughter. And you really sort of buy into that when you see the moments between mother and daughter in the worst of situations, sometimes making the best of those. A real bond, a scene that comes to mind when they celebrate her birthday and the daughter turns to her and says this was the best day ever, and it was the simplest of birthdays. And for Alex, the mother, to be able to provide that for her daughter, you feel like that's a real victory considering the situation that they've been in. 4. So Margret Qualley, who's Alex in this, the lead actress, the girl on the poster, plays gut-wrenching performance, like hell of a role from her. But I think that's what was so good about her in this series is she was quite soft-spoken, quite timid, quite like sort of neutral the whole way. And because she wasn't super over-the-top, sassy, super emotional or something, she finally cries and she's finally showing some real emotion. You feel like you're right there with her. because she's been holding it in for so long. She's been stretched so thin, keeping things barely afloat, that the final straw, and she finally breaks, you can completely understand, because I think personally I would have broken way earlier. And 5, and I'll leave my favorite point till last. Relationships are everything. This series, I think, really plays. It's not a series where there's loads happening all the time, where there's massive dramas at every second. Some episodes, not a lot happens. So I think the show really leans on being able to see relationships develop. There's 3 in particular that I thought were excellent, which was Alex and her daughter, I've already mentioned, Alex and Regina, her first boss, and finally Alex and her mother, which I think was the most incredible relationship I've seen in a while on TV. So the mother's played by Annie McDowell, but she basically is an undiagnosed bipolar, and she plays it so well. She goes on these rampant monologues of happiness, and she can be in the real lows of lows. She'd disappear, she would be homeless, and basically this is the only person that Alex has left. You know, her dad left them at a young age. He appears in the show, but he's not a great dad. She can't count on him. But the mother, as crazy as she is there for her in one way or another, and Alex does rely on her a lot. And so to see the relationship between them, where Alex needs her and the mother, because of her illness, isn't there, you begin to sort of like feel for Alex, because you want your mother to be someone warm for you. But there are these incredible moments where you can see almost the person behind the illness. You can see that she's still in there and she still cares for her daughter, and she wants her to be well and to be safe. Her mother actually was also a victim of domestic abuse from their father. That's a big part of the series. The mother, who also went through the same situation, sort of sees Alex going through it now and can't help but see herself in her daughter, and feel like maybe she failed her a bit by her ending up being in the situation. I thought it was an incredible relationship on screen. So that's it. Those are my 5 screen notes for Maid, out on Netflix now. Rating wise, as I said at the beginning, I really enjoyed this one. I'm giving it an 8.2 out of 10. I thought this series had basically everything to be a good show. I thought that it had me emotionally invested in the character. I thought that it had real consequences that you felt like you were tense for, and it made me cry, to be honest. At the end, I was in tears, and I think the show does that. It kind of means that it was a good show because you were so emotionally invested in it. But it's not a 10, and it's not in 9 territory yet. I did think there were some actors who were in it that weren't the best. Namely, the boyfriend wasn't really that believable. And I thought that there was potentially things that were added to the story that were unnecessary, that were sort of deviating from the main storyline. But take nothing away from overall a very good show. 8.2 out of 10, absolute must watch on Netflix. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode and enjoyed my review of Maid. If you agreed with it, let me know. If you disagree with it, let me know. Don't know what next is going to be, but always on the lookout for some good shows, good movies. And so I'll see you in the next one. Peace.